I'm Vanessa Kanbi and this is House and Hustle. The series where we get to look inside somebody's house and find out exactly what they do for their hustle. Today we're going to meet Nana and Mo. Hi there, how are you doing?
I'm very well, Vanessa.
Thanks so much for allowing me to come to your beautiful house. So what's the story behind your house here?
Well, our house was built by my father, or commissioned by my father, and was completed in 1965 when airport residential area was farmland, literally. My father used to bring my brother and me to come and have a look at the construction. And literally there were cornfields on either side of this house. So we used to collect corn from our neighbors. There was nothing here, just farmland, and take it to our housekeeper at the time, who would roast a brew on the griddle. But yes, it's a mid-century modern home from the mid-60s, which I still feel has a very contemporary feel now.
Mm-hmm. I feel like some people might not even imagine the time when airport had farmland around it, and it also shows the speed at the development in Accra.
Absolutely.
Like, that wasn't that long ago.
Absolutely.
And yet this area is full now.
Not only is it full, but it is
the prime
almost
location.
More, it's at the prime location or one of the prime locations, but it's also now more mixed use. It's commercial and residential.
Okay,
so in a street that was completely residential before, and in an area that was completely residential before, I'd say it's more than 50% commercial. It's definitely mixed use. It's turning into a New York.
How do you feel about that?
I love my trees and birds, and I wish there could be, we could have more of a feel of that farmland that I remembered from years gone by. But you know, as somebody that I met who now lives here, an African American, when I was telling him about, you know, the unfortunate way that things are developing, he said, "You know what, honey? New York used to be farmland. That's development, sweetie." So I guess we have to take it on the chin.
What I love about this place is it's so green, and you know, the trees are very mature, so they're like giving shade into the garden, which is so nice, and there's so many different types of plants as well. So can you show me a bit about
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes. So this is what I think of as my oasis, our oasis. The house belonged to my parents. Sadly, both parents have passed away now. When my mother passed away 2 years ago, I thought it was time to try and recreate what I felt would be something that had more of a tropical feel. So I started working on the garden and then put my all into it a year and a half ago when COVID
when you were
struck.
stuck at home.
Yes, basically. And I figured, okay, so we're not supposed to commune with human beings. Let me commune with the trees and plants and create an oasis. Can't get on a plane. If I want to travel, I have to do it visually in my own space. I put up a wall. Before there was no wall here. You could see right into the street. So I put up the wall. I had an idea that I wanted to create more of a vertical space here. And I also wanted more of that indoor-outdoor aesthetic from the house. With a paving area, this area was all paved. So I wanted to bring in the greenery as much as possible, a lot with potted plants. So most of the plants that you see, these are all potted plants, they're not in the ground. Most of these are potted plants. But I've also dug up parts of the pavement as well in order to plant, in order to put plants into the ground, because they flourish in a different way from potted plants.
So the next thing that I would love to see is inside and on this sort of patio area, because this, as you were talking about the indoor-outdoor feel, we can see straight ahead, and also just the design of your house is so nice. Like, I love it so much.
Thank you so much.
So these doors here, were they here originally?
Yes, so this was part of the original house, as much as possible in trying to preserve this house, and not just preserve it, but enhance it. I've tried to contemporize it, but still maintain that mid-century modern feel. Mid-century modern is sort of 50s and 60s. And so even where I've added things, I've added things that enhance that look and feel. The terrazzo is the original terrazzo. I basically just cleaned the terrazzo on the outside, but everything else is as it was, the walls, the beams as they were. So I haven't done anything structurally to the building.
Okay.
I've just tried to perfect and enhance it. I also surrounded the original window frames with architraves. These are called architraves. So this is just basically something that frames the window, and that enhanced, I felt, the look of an old style louver window. But I had no desire to change the louvers in the house. In fact, I've added more louvers to the house because I feel louvers are the best way of doing a window treatment in a tropical environment because they give 100% ventilation. We never use AC. We have ACs in every room, but we have no need to use them because we have cross ventilation, because the windows come right the way through the house in both directions.
I feel like that's something that now is kind of going out of fashion, or for whatever reason people aren't really building with louvers anymore, and so you need to use air conditioning and things like that, which doesn't actually make sense in terms of electricity bills, and for the environment in general it's not a good thing. So I'm sure like people should definitely take advantage of louvers. Some people might be wondering, are you an architect? You're talking about cross ventilation and some of these terms. So have you ever studied architecture or anything like that?
I have not, but by osmosis and association, I've picked up quite a lot on architecture. My late ex-husband was an architect who I really think was one of the best architects of all time. Not well known because he was very much an individual in his expression, both in terms of from a professional point of view and in every possible way. But I met him when I was a student in London, and he was just about to start architecture school. And I went through his 7 years of architecture with him, and I learned a lot. And when he used to do his presentations, for school, for university, I used to be doing the dots and shading on his presentations. So I think, as I said, by osmosis and association, I picked up a lot from Paul.
Okay, that makes sense in terms of how you've designed spaces and things like that. If we turn around this way, you were telling me something interesting about this sofa here.
Yes. So as much as possible, I think we should not throw the baby out with the bathwater in terms of how we design. And I think we should have, as much as possible, an eclectic approach to old and new things. So I wanted to, as I said, maintain the feeling of a mid-century modern home, but still contemporize it. So I've tried to recycle or upcycle as much as possible. So this sofa, for instance, this sofa looks contemporary, but it was actually bought by my father, our father, in the early 70s. I remember going shopping with him and my brother to choose a piece of furniture. And we were living in Italy at the time, and this was bought in Italy. And all I've done is I've upcycled it. I've sprayed it, I've recovered it, changed the cushions, but it's something that I feel can comfortably sit in a space.
No, it looks really good.
And it fits into the style. So as much as possible, I try and do that. I try and upcycle. These chairs are another example. I bought these off the roadside here in Accra, and changed the legs, sanded down the legs to make them more contemporary. They were dark legs, and there was some flock velveteen fabric with fringing, and I just took that off, used a nice simple color. And again, I feel you can pick these chairs up in a contemporary shop anywhere in the world.
The artwork, there's so many nice pieces of art on the wall. Do they have meanings behind them?
Yes, very much so. If I take you to this one, it's called Carnival, this red one here. This was a painting that was given to our parents, my parents, in Australia when we lived there. And for me, it very much symbolizes my parents, Australia. This piece of art has followed us all around the world and back here. So even with our parents gone, I definitely wanted to make sure that we had some pieces as a memorial to them. So this, and actually these two paintings here were also done in Australia. So again, as much as possible, I wanted in the artwork to get a feel of different places. So you'll see in the paintings and the masks and so on, different continents are represented in the artwork. That painting over there, I painted myself. It's not me, it was a figment of my imagination. And this piece here I bought in South Africa around the time of my daughter's wedding. Alice and Selom got married in Cape Town, or the outskirts of Cape Town, and I bought this from an artist. It reminded me of my relationship with the women in my life. So this could either be my mother and me, or it could be me and my daughter. So I thought it was a perfect thing to buy at the time of my daughter's wedding.
So you spoke about living in Australia. Have you lived in different places within your life?
Yes, very much so. So I'm a global nomad, actually. My father was a diplomat, and basically my brother and I and my mother followed him around the world. We've lived in Australia, as you can tell from my references to Australian paintings. We've lived in Italy, we lived in the UK, and basically my childhood was spent living in various countries and then ending up in the UK and staying there for my tertiary education.
Are both your parents Ghanaian?
Yes.
Oh, right, okay, so he was a Ghanaian diplomat in other countries around the world.
Yes.
How did you find that moving around when you were growing up?
It was perfect. For me, I think that exposure to different cultures and a myriad of different things, it's not everything that you can learn and pick up from a book. You need to immerse yourself in different cultures and experience them. And for me, it was invaluable. It's helped to shape me, that exposure. And I think it's also helped to make me see things from different perspectives. And certainly from my aesthetic taste and my culinary interest. I mean, I just love things from all over the world. So the dining space. This table was the table my father bought years ago from a carpenter here, and what I did to contemporize the space was just to change the chairs. The chairs are your typical sort of contemporary IKEA looking pieces, and that just contemporized that space. I opened up the windows here. I told you before that I'm a great believer in louvers, and I've actually added more louvers to this space. And so what I did last year, again inspired by COVID and the idea that we should have lots of air if we're going to be sitting around other people and eating. So basically I broke the wall, opened up the window space, and the windows were, like up to here before, and I brought it down. And also created this garden area, which didn't exist before. A bird had very kindly planted this tree already a couple of years ago. So that was like a baby little tree. And the rest of it, literally, I planted last year.
It's growing so quickly.
Yes. So the idea was to create a forest feel.
Again, such nice art pieces.
Thank you.
In this area.
Thank you. This I picked up in a market in Tamale. I, at the time, was working in public relations, and I was going with my team to have a look at some work that our clients needed us to do. And I picked this up literally from the market. I love it. I think it's, some people have asked me whether it's a piece from a very well-known artist here. It's like a local artist. And this was I think my first painting that I painted in an artist's studio years ago, like more than 15 years ago. He gave me a spatula, and I said, what do I do with it? And he said, oh, just pick up the paint, and I just sort of did something and ended up liking it. Okay, So you can see I love art. Everywhere has to have art. You know, even the bathrooms have to art. Kitchen has to have art. And so here we have.
It's so nice and bright in here as well, and I love the windows up.
Yes. So from here, for instance, you know, I love the fact that you can look out and still see nature. And it's airy. As I said, we have ACs in every room except for the kitchen, but we never use them. So yes, here what I've done is literally just change the color of the cabinets, added or contemporized the shelving and styled the shelving so you have pops of color, and add some art and plants, and that's basically it.
Again, it shows the upcycling that can be done without ripping down and putting in a whole new kitchen.
Exactly.
So again, yeah, we're seeing so many nice pieces of art. Oh, you've got like necklaces.
Yeah,
on
literally my necklaces.
Oh, is it?
I'm a great believer in, you know, making full use of everything. This piece is from Burkina that I bought with a friend in Togo.
Oh, this is one of your own. I can see your name there.
Yes.
That's really nice. Has it got a name?
No.
Oh, okay.
I'll get to it though. I'm slow sometimes. And these,
cool.
actually, these are quite an interesting story. I picked these up in a shop in Accra, and they're actually floor tiles.
Oh.
So when you step on them, you can make
the liquid moves
around. So you should get a couple of these for your kids, you know, so they can sort of step on them and make funny patterns.
Oh,
but I thought, well, what do you do with these really? They're nice, but like, what are you going to do with them on the floor? And I thought, well, why don't I just stick them here? And I've got my artwork. Okay, so here we have our upstairs terrace space.
it's huge. Was this always here?
This was always here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was always here and never used actually.
Oh, right.
I decided a few years ago that we needed to pretty it up and bring the garden upstairs as well so that we could make better use of it.
Yeah.
And this tree, the Arbrofo in Cartier, was such an inspiration because when you're up here, you're at the same level as the birds. And literally, we have a host of different birds that come and make their homes, make their home here. And I created this here as a, you know, sort of a privacy screen to block off the concrete jungle next door that has emerged. The tree, as I mentioned earlier, the tree has sort of taken over the space, and it's now sort of enveloping the house, cradling the house as it were. Now it's grown all the way here. I mean, 2 years ago it was just here, and now it's sort of created a canopy area for us. And the bougainvillea is also coming to create another canopy for us here. But as much as possible, I just wanted to green up this space, and our guests enjoy sitting here. You know, when they come out of their rooms, they want to have breakfast outside. Then this is the spot.
So that brings us on to the hustle. You're talking about guests. So what is it that you do?
I don't even know where to start. A variety of different things. Let me start by saying what I used to do.
Okay.
And then how I came to doing what I'm doing now. So when I first came back to Ghana, I started teaching at Ghana International School, where I remained a teacher for 19 years. And I ran the gamut of possibilities, literally from teaching English to maths and English and history and geography. And in my last 4 years, I was the art teacher in the junior school. From teaching, which I enjoyed tremendously, I moved into public relations. When I left PR, I decided that I wanted to take a quantum leap of faith and do something that I could do entirely on my own, based at home. So I started working in real estate. And I did some PR consulting at the same time. I also saw from a design perspective that there was definitely a need for introducing maybe a more creative way of designing. That love of aesthetics and visual creativity made me feel, you know, I could also add to the real estate some interior design. I'm self-taught, you know, I'm self-taught in anything creative, but I think I have this sort of natural inclination towards
I feel like creativity is ingrained. You know, I don't think it can really be taught. You know, I feel like you're either creative or not. I mean, I think everyone probably has their own, you know, creativity in them, but I think very creative people are naturally creative.
I have a home in another part of Accra, which I worked on from an interior design perspective. That was my sort of introduction to dealing with artisans and, you know, getting them to see your vision, as it were. And those spaces ended up being spaces that other people really appreciated. And I ended up doing Airbnb occasionally, and then it became sort of full-time in those spaces. And then I added an Airbnb section to this house as well.
Oh, okay.
So a few years ago, one of the rooms was converted, and then so that's finished, and people have been in and out of one room in the house, and I'm working on a studio space as well.
Nice.
Here's the space.
So nice and bright and airy. And the floor is the first thing that takes my attention. Like, it's so cool. I've never seen anything like it, actually. I've never seen a floor this color before. Had you seen this? Were you inspired by something you'd seen?
No, it was in my head. I actually mixed the color
myself.
Right,
okay.
I decided for this room I didn't want tiles. I wanted something that was different. So I basically mixed a color. I used a paint that is not traditionally used on floors.
Oh, right.
But I thought, why not? And it worked.
Yeah.
And then added a varnish just to so that's what gives it that warmth. Sometimes I'm told, no, we don't do it like that here, or no, that's not how it's done. And I think, why not?
Was this room originally like this before you changed it into an Airbnb room?
Not at all. It was actually our father's study.
Oh, okay.
And Daddy passed away more than 15 years ago. So it was a little study area, and then this area was the veranda. So the doors opened out onto a little veranda that was never used.
Oh, right, okay.
And 4 years ago now, I thought we need to make better use of this space.
Yeah.
And so basically I created this space. I removed the doors here, and then closed in the veranda area, put in this long window, extended these windows. You know, I love this sort of light, airy, and sort of celebrating nature. And the tree there, Brofo was my inspiration for the design of the room. I didn't quite know how I wanted the room, but I always start with a perspective, something that I see or feel in the space. And definitely the big tree, which I think is monumental and so beautiful, was my inspiration.
And the furniture as well, is that made in Ghana?
Absolutely. Designed by me, and then made by local craftsmen. Some is made at timber market. I design it, and they go off and have it planed and sanded and come back. And then I say, oh, add this here, tweak it a little bit here. But literally everything in this room has been designed and made by local artisans, with the exception of this table, this little coffee table, which belonged to my parents. And I think, this was probably bought in the 60s, and I've just upcycled it by painting it.
So do you offer this service of interior design to the general public? or
Sometimes. It's really a labor of love. And the reason is that not everybody quite understands the aesthetic, attention to detail, accuracy, angles, parallel lines. And so in order to work with artisans here, it requires a lot of blood, sweat and tears. Sometimes I liken it to childbirth, It's very painful. But at the end, when the babies come out and you have your
it.
wonderful creation, you almost forget the pain and you're definitely ready to make another baby. So that's my attitude to interior design. I love it. I love the end result. And yes, I am able to do that for others, and I'm happy to do it in certain circumstances.
Okay.
Yeah. So it has to feel right, and I also have to feel that I can provide the kind of service the clients need.
So round here, did you build on the toilet? Was this part of the veranda or was this part of the room?
No, this was part of the room.
Oh, right, okay.
Yes, but I changed it. So as you can see, there's this kind of peekaboo feeling because you're surrounded by wood. Then if you peek in, you'll find yourself in what is the wet room.
Very nice.
And then, yes, so then you've got your cupboards here. So I have to explain to guests when they come that, you know, this door leads to a bathroom, and then this door is the wardrobe. Otherwise, it's like, okay,
they don't know
where's the
toilet is.
Because everything sort of blends into everything else.
How have you found the Airbnb business? Because now you've been doing it here and also in your other properties. How has it been?
Oh, it's been fantastic. I've had all sorts of different people come through from literally every continent, bar Antarctica. It's been a fantastic experience, and I think I've met really, I don't know what it is, but I feel that my homes tend to attract a particular type of person generally. So they're generally earthy, generally lovers of nature, people who enjoy that element of individuality. You know, so they could be people who have stayed in hotels or they've stayed in other places, but they like that home away from home feel. They like to hear the sound of the birds in the morning. Quite a lot seem to love doing yoga.
Oh, nice.
So very zen, you know. But it's been wonderful, actually.
And how is the occupancy, do you find? Obviously, you were doing it before COVID, maybe COVID affected things, but overall, what sort of occupancy rate do you find?
Oh, very high.
Oh,
very
okay.
high. I mean, during COVID, I closed it off for 6 months. Since I opened up again, it's usually full. Quite often, people book well in advance. So,
oh, wow.
You know, my Christmas bookings were booked like 3 or 4 months ago.
Amazing.
So yes, let's say 75 to 80% occupancy. Sometimes
That's
it's
really
more.
High. So it's
and then
a successful business.
Oh yeah, I would say so. I also have repeat guests, you know, or guests who recommend other people, or people who come, you know, every year and a half and say, Nana, I want to stay at your place, you know. And I've even had guests who, you know, when they couldn't stay, they've stayed in my other home and that's no longer available. And it's like, don't you have anywhere else? And literally, they just want to stay in one of
somewhere
my spaces,
that you've designed.
which is such a compliment, and it's really heartwarming. I almost feel like I have an extended family with many of my guests.
Amazing. And you said you're extending the business actually downstairs. So maybe we can go down there and you can show us what's going on, and then we'll also come back and see the finished product as well.
All right, absolutely.
Thanks. So is this the way that your Airbnb guests would come in?
Exactly. So they have a separate entrance. So we have one gate and then they have one gate. And so that we have that sense of being separate. But for especially female travelers, it's also nice for them to feel that they can be in a safe compound with other people actually, somewhere, you know, a WhatsApp away. The guests upstairs, this is their bedroom up here, and then of course they have use of the terrace that we've seen, and they enter through there, go up the staircase, and then they have their own private space here and use of the terrace.
So can they park here as well?
Yes, and they do.
Good.
Yes,
that's
those
perfect.
who have cars. Not everybody has a car, but yes, off-street parking. And then I've just been working on this studio space, which is a self-contained space.
Okay.
It used to be a storeroom. 5 weeks ago, it was a storeroom. And it was a storeroom that has housed all sorts of things from memorabilia to letters to everything, but literally everything but the kitchen sink over the last 30 years.
Oh, so I'm excited to see what you've managed to do in 5 weeks so far. Okay. And then you were saying that you want to finish it by this Saturday.
Yes.
So this Saturday?
Yes.
So in like a couple of days?
Yeah.
Or the following?
No, this
oh,
Saturday.
This Saturday.
So yeah, 6 weeks. It will have taken me 6 weeks. That was like my project. Like this room can be transformed
In 6 weeks.
weeks.
Okay, let's check it out. Was the storeroom like this, or you've added parts?
Oh, not at all. No, it wasn't. Literally, the storeroom ended here. So I've doubled the size of the space. We extended out here. I knocked out 2 walls, made sure this pillar, which was a supporting pillar, was strengthened because it was, the building is what is considered in Ghanaian terms an old building built in 1965. I keep saying, have you been to the Sistine Chapel? Have you been to the Colosseum? You say this building is old. But anyway, it was built with iron rods and there's been some corrosion and so on. So in knocking out walls, I needed to make sure this was strengthened. So I sought the help of a structural engineer. So it's literally doubled in size in
almost
5 weeks.
Yeah. You could probably build a house then in that time, I'm thinking, like, because this is, somebody could live in here.
Well, I don't know about building a house in 5 weeks, but I'm trying to create a space that feels like a mini house. So here we are, literally, the building, the storeroom was this space that you see here, just this space here. So that didn't exist, this bit didn't exist. So what I wanted to do is to create a space where you could see nature all around. So that's the idea of having like a clerestory window effect all the way around.
Yeah, I really like that.
So as a result, the bathroom is a little different because there are no walls that go all the way up to the top in the bathroom. And I wanted that effect because I wanted to be able to see the palm trees from the bed. So this is a huge window. I'm a great lover. I have to have some huge windows somewhere. And there would be more huge windows here if not for the privacy factor, because I had to consider that other people would be walking up the stairs and so on. So I couldn't have a big window here, but I could have it at the back. And what I wanted to do is to create a little sort of like Zen garden where people could sit, read, have breakfast, do yoga, because I consider the fact that quite a few of my guests seem to, like to sit yoga and do namaste in a corner somewhere. So instead of having more green, which I would normally like, I decided to create the green vertically and around the edge, and then have enough space for people to sit, exercise, have more of a spa feel, have occasional massage, and have it in the privacy of your own space, have breakfast. Or sit and read. You can go into the bathroom if you like.
Okay, yeah, sounds good.
So, so the bathroom is coming in here. Yes, and I wanted something that was clean, that felt clean and was earthy. So there's going to be accents of wood. When you stand here, you can see the wood of the windows. I'm going to add more wood, and then everything else clean and simple. I think that's my general design aesthetic. So when I was designing the space, I had in mind everything that I needed in the space. TV is coming here, console, drawers, etc. I had a vision in my mind, and I also had my room upstairs and other rooms that I've done as a benchmark for how people use the space. The only thing that was missing was a wardrobe. Where do I put the wardrobe? I didn't want to put it here to block the view from here. I didn't want to put it there to block. So I really had nowhere for the wardrobe. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to punch a hole in the wall and have the wall sticking out from the outside and create my wardrobe. With the proviso that the tree that I had planted on the outside was not touched. So the mason was given strict instructions. We can extend out, but no further than the tree. And it's worked out. So this is going to be where the wardrobe is. So this is actually the frame for a big mirror.
Oh, so there's going to be a mirror there?
There's going to be a mirror here. And because it doesn't touch the ground, it gives the impression that it is actually a mirror. Yeah. Because you still see the skirting and you see the wall. So it will just be like you've hung a big mirror here.
That is so cool. And yeah, it was a good idea just to like go through the wall you know, some people might have just thought, oh, never mind, we'll just put it here. But you wanted to keep that aesthetic.
Yes, exactly.
Aesthetically pleasing.
Exactly.
Not through.
Yes. So that's how that worked.
Very nice.
I'm planting here so that when you're inside, the plants, the desk is here. The desk has already been done out of another piece of wood.
Okay.
And so then I'm going to have plants growing up to this height here. So that's the view from where you're, and then, but they're going to be upright plants here, and then a seating area here. So to come out here, and then plants and pebbles around here. And then I'm going to do something with the floor. I don't know what yet, but some paint effect on the floor.
I mean, it's a nice size.
And then I'm just going to cover this so that it's disguised. But of course, I have to do something here so that the air can also come through. So I'll work on something just to cover this space, and maybe have a little table here, or closet cabinet thing where you can, you know, put your juice and your drinks and so on.
So in addition to the studio, you were saying you're maybe going to build some more units?
Yes, I mean, that is my dream. If I get funding, I need investment.
Oh, okay.
But my idea is we've got so much space at the back, and literally there's nothing there but staff quarters and a garage and the washing line. So, and it's huge. So my dream is to be able to create 3 or 4 spaces that have the same kind of aesthetic, that organic Zen, being at one with nature, the sound of birds, trickling water. Okay, so you didn't make it to Thailand, but you're here, don't worry.
Or Santorini. I was getting Santorini vibes actually inside a little bit as well.
Fantastic, I'm happy. If you could feel like you're in Santorini in the middle of airport residential area, then that's it, I've done my job.
So here we are 5 days later. Thanks for having me back.
Great pleasure, Vanessa.
I'm really looking forward to seeing the transformation that's taken place. How has it been these last 5 days?
I've been up till late at night, started early in the morning, and it's been like non-stop for the last 5 days to get the garden and the space ready in time for you. Actually, you are my incentive.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, so welcome.
Oh my gosh, it's so nice. I actually love it. Wow. Honestly, when we were here the other day, I thought, not sure it's going to be finished by Saturday. And then I even messaged you this morning, like, should we go ahead with the shoot?
I said, come on down, I'm ready for you. So I put together the final touches actually this morning.
It's really nice.
But here we are in the space. We've got a little garden area here, which we can go and have a look at.
You've done so much.
Little desk area here, and I've actually tried as much as possible to work with local artisans, so the furniture is made with me, and you know, I've used my basic design and I've worked with artisans, so there's nothing that's been bought from a shop. The bed was made, the desk was made, the TV cabinet was made, the kitchen area was made with local craftsmen, some of it on the premises.
Love this, actually.
Thank you, thank you.
So is this painted wood, this
Yes.
side, and then this is is it the same wood that's painted, or is
No.
it different? Okay,
This
it's
is actually
different wood.
bamboo plywood here,
Right.
and then solid wood for the drawers.
Do you find it to be more affordable to do it that way, or does it end up being the same sort of price as if you're going to buy from a shop?
It ends up being the same,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
It doesn't, it's not cheaper because we have to consider the cost of the materials, which are not always necessarily cheap here. The bamboo plywood is imported. And then the wood has to be dried, it has to be treated, and then, you know, workmanship as well.
But you get exactly what you want.
Exactly,
in the space.
custom made, unique, and that's very much what I wanted, is something custom made, unique, that really had international appeal, but using local materials, local products. This is a roadside guy who I asked to design this. Everything was made and designed locally, literally everything.
And the mirror wardrobe that you told me about.
Yes, this is the mirror wardrobe. That is not finished yet, but the wardrobe will be here.
Oh, nice.
So, yeah, we've got.
Yeah, it really works.
Looks like a mirror,
how it was going to work, but yeah, no, it looks really good. You would never really know that.
Yeah, exactly. That's the idea. Mm-hmm. And then from a color point of view, I use this kente cushion as my inspiration for the painting that I did. So I actually customized a painting to suit the space and to go with the cushion. So if you see, all the colors are.
When did you make this painting? Like
between Tuesday and
was it?
Today.
Wow. I mean, like when people say they can't do things in a short space of time, this is like a testament that you actually can if you want to do it and if you have the drive. Yeah. You've even managed to do a painting whilst decorating this whole room. Did you have everything ready to go on Tuesday? You know, everything to come into the room?
No, this was not finished. This was not finished. The headboard was done, but the bed was finished yesterday. This is an old trunk that I had that I slightly sort of adapted to suit this space. So I sort of washed it with a grey, so it toned in with the space. This was an old chair that I bought on the roadside that I had upholstered. The upholsterer brought it yesterday.
Wow. And then the
little kitchen area.
So you've got it's an electric.
Yes, an electric hob. I think I'll actually get one which has two in case people want a little bit more.
And then I guess you'll have like
so the fridge is going to be here, and then the microwave will be in here, cutlery, and then at the bottom crockery will be at the bottom there.
Great.
And then, would you like to?
Yes, please. Oh, this is so nice. You know what really makes it special is the lights. The light fittings are just like top notch.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, I actually just love it. And then look at even like the soaps and everything and the stones.
Yeah, so the stones so that we can have that holiday spa feel. The soaps are locally made. I actually bought the soap from a bazaar yesterday.
It smells so nice.
And the candle is also locally made. In fact, my son and daughter had the candle designed for me, you know, with a scent that they felt sort of exuded me. It was actually a birthday gift that they had created. So that was locally made. And this vase is locally made from broken bottles.
Okay.
And I even chose this as a partition door because the jealousy door effect again reminded me of the seaside. And then I distressed the wood to give it that kind of
and then you've got
weathered.
This sort of like sea here as well.
Exactly.
So it's all coming together.
Yeah, the idea that, you know, you can be just transported to a different space.
Wow, you've done such a great job. Can I see the outside space?
Yes.
That when we saw it the other day, it was just basically concrete. I'm looking forward to seeing it today.
Come this way.
And the stones as well, there's the stones there and then the stones inside, so it's like that inside, outside sort of
exactly.
feel.
You've got it, the continuity concept. Now you don't have to walk on the stepping stones, but...
Oh my gosh, nice. This is so nice. I would have never imagined that it could come together that quickly. And you've even managed to cover like the AC unit and everything. You're actually like Superwoman. I don't know how you managed to get people to work this fast. Where did you pick up the plants?
Most of the plants are from the garden.
Oh, your own garden?
From this garden.
And here's this seat as well. I'm almost like, how can it be finished?
Okay, so the seat is a bit high. So I just put that in for now, but I'm actually going to lower it and make it just 1 inch instead of 4 inches, so it's the right height to sit. And also you can relax, lie down. And with a book and recline as well.
I feel like it's probably the right height for me because I'm tall.
Yes,
but maybe for other people it might not be the right height.
Yes.
I don't know. Yes. Yeah, and these hanging plants as well.
Yes, they were on the other side of the garden. I've just been, sort of, let me take this from here. I think a couple are even from the living room and the bedroom.
And then when you sit here, all you can see is green, basically. I guess
That's
that was
the
your idea.
That's exactly the idea. And in fact, I even extended the garden field by letting the garden sort of go beyond this point. So when you're sitting here, that bit, the entrance bit, feels like part of this space.
I'm sure people are going to watch this and think, I want you to make my place. So I'm sure like people can check out your details in the description below if you are thinking that, because I feel like I'm thinking that now. When I build, I would love you to come and like decorate my house.
I would
as well.
be delighted.
Oh, thanks.
So consider it done.
Oh, thanks.
When
so
you're
much.
ready, you and Sean, just give me a ring.
Amazing. I'm so
You're
excited.
booked.
Great. So when will this be up on Airbnb?
It'll be up. It'll be available from the middle of the month, and I plan to put it up in the next few days. But
Okay.
I need just to make sure that everything is up and running. So I'll put it up, but it will actually be available to book from the middle.
All right.
of the
Okay.
month.
So once this goes up, the link as well for this Airbnb will be below, and people can book away and stay here in this nice, calm retreat setting. You know, there's all the greenery around. Because that's one thing that people complain of. When I show properties, they're like, there's no plants or anything. But you've managed to show that in a small space, you can actually put a lot of plants here.
Yeah. I mean, you can have it a little bit more minimalist, a little bit more, you know, not so crowded, but I wanted that sort of instant burst and infusion of color, of green, to make it feel more like a retreat or oasis. That's the idea, that it should feel like a retreat.
Well, thanks so much for having me back, and I am just amazed at what you've managed to do here. And hopefully when you build more of these, I'll be able to come back again and maybe see the whole process from the build to the end stages as well. So thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and press the bell so you're notified every time I make an upload, and see you later. Bye.
Bye.